Hello, my witchlets. I'm kneeling because I'm the only person here right now, and I have to figure out how to do this video somehow. So what we're going to do is we are going to actually grind together some beef suet, and about a quarter cup of diced shallots. And this is going to be the foundation for our white pudding that I am going to make for you before we get to making our Worcester eggs. So I'm going to go ahead and stand up and turn on the grinder, and we're going to go from there and talk about everything that you need to do. So the recipe suggests that you use a 5mm thing. I don't know what they're called. And that according to the site is supposed to work best. So, and this is a very fatty meat, so we only need to grind it once according to KitchenAid. I need to cut some of this down because it's very thick. I don't know that it'll fit into my grinder. Okay, this is really gross coming out here. That's all right. I'm gonna toss my onions here so that I can make sure they go into the grinder with the meat. Now I know what everybody's thinking. Everybody's already thinking, Chrissy, if you're making baked Worcestershire Scotch eggs, that means you're gonna have to get stuff under your fingernails. And you, my darling witchlets, are correct. I'm gonna have to get stuff under my fingernails, and I am not looking forward to it in any way, shape, or form, because this is all really, really gross. But that's okay. I don't mind getting dirt under my fingernails. I like plants. I don't, food has weird textures. Plants don't have bacteria like food does, and that's why I don't like it. It's gross. Alright, this thing definitely needs like a little piece to push stuff down. My nose is running from cutting up the whatever it was, shallot. My brain is also not working. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to set that down over there. I'm going to move some of these pieces out of the way because I can't see what's going on. So basically this just all gets ground together. I'm going to go ahead and come back in a few minutes when this is done, and we'll go from there. Alright, I'm back. I have everything ground up. I actually did find the little thing that you're supposed to push your meat into the grinder with, so I'm very happy. Found that. So this is our ground suet and onion, or shallot in this case. Now to this we are going to add old-fashioned oats that have been soaking in water for approximately an hour. The recipe that I'm using is written entirely in grams, and I do not have a kitchen scale, so I had to kind of do some calculations to figure out how much of everything I needed. So this is approximately 3 cups of oatmeal, and it was sitting in a cup and a half, I think, of water for the past hour. So we're gonna go ahead and add these. It's probably better if you can let your oats sit overnight. I've never made this before. I've made black pudding before, but I've never made white pudding. And the difference is white pudding doesn't use blood like black pudding does. Yep, I'm gonna have to stick my hands in this. I was kind of hoping I would be able to get out of it, but as you can see, I already took off my watch and my rings, just in case. So excited. All right, next up, we need to add approximately a tablespoon plus somebody's here. I'll be right back. False alarm. Delivery was not for me, it's for the upstairs neighbors, but we have very similar addresses and I get all their mail. So anyway, we need 2 tablespoons plus 2 tablespoons plus a teaspoon of potato starch for in this. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my potato starch going on here. 1, and it's not a kitchen witchery and other spells video unless there's a mess involved. 2, which includes a mess all over me. So happy I'm wearing a black shirt. All right, and then the teaspoon. There we go. Now from here, the recipe also calls for 18 grams of a spice mixture. This spice mixture consists of ground coriander, ground sage, ground ginger, nutmeg, mace, trying to see what else I have sitting on my table, coriander, white pepper, that's very important, and allspice, ground allspice. So there's a lot of different spices in here, and we need 18 grams of it, which is approximately 2 tablespoons. So I'm just going to use the one that I just put all of the potato starch on, pour that in there. It's okay if I get a little extra in because I actually have more suet than I needed for this recipe, but it was what they gave me at the butcher shop. I wasn't going to complain. So, there we go. And now, we get to do my favorite part, which is get stuff under my nails as we mix all this together. Because I don't really have large enough bowls for this kind of stuff, I can't really use a spoon. So, and this sounds gross, and it looks gross, because it is gross. So, yeah, this is how you make white pudding from scratch. You grind your suet and onions or shallots together, and then you mix in the spices and the potato starch and get everything good and mixed together. I can't really complain too much about getting stuff under my nails. I'm going to have to do that later because, of course, we're doing the Worcestershire eggs, Scotch eggs for this video. And I'm going to have to mix all of this white pudding, well, not all of it, but I'm going to have to mix white pudding with my sausage that I made earlier. I just used lamb, ground lamb, and mixed all my spices and such into that. The sausage recipe that I use is from the book, The Unexpected Cookbook, which is a Hobbit-based cookbook, and I like that one because it is actually pre-columbian. It uses a pre-columbian menu for the foods, and a lot of the recipes are actually, oh, this is really vile, are actually old, like medieval recipes that have been updated slightly to include a bunch of different spices and such to help with the flavor. So I highly recommend that to check that out. I think I've linked to it before. I'll link to it again in this video, just so that you have access to it. All right, and this is a whole bunch of white pudding sitting here on my table in all of its glorious grossness. So, I'll be back later. It'll be darker, and I'll have my cameraman. And we're gonna make the Worcester baked Scotch eggs. I have eggs marinating in Worcestershire sauce right now, low sodium Worcestershire sauce, because I didn't need all that salt. And then it'll be those with a blend of the sausage and the white pudding for the covering of the eggs. They will also be dipped in the gluten-free breadcrumbs, and I will bake them as well. So we'll do all of that later on, probably 3 hours from now. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and yeah, so might make a couple extras so we can have dinner tonight. We'll see. Ta! Hi Witchlets, we're back. So these are our Worcestershire marinated eggs. They look delicious. So I'm going to set these over to the side because we need to focus on the stuff that's going on down here on the table. So, if you'll remember from the original baked Scotch eggs video, we had our spice mix. It's the same spice mix for this. Breadcrumbs, egg wash. This right here is approximately 2 cups of white pudding, which we made earlier. This is my 1 pound of lamb sausage. These two things get mixed together. And we crack an egg in here too. So I'll go ahead and do that now and get stuff under my nails. It needs to be like the subtitle of this channel. Kitchen witchery and other things Chrissy gets under her nails. Ugh, this is so gross. So beef suet, I learned today, is pretty much all fat. I didn't know that because I don't really know what suet is, because any cooking I've ever done is pretty much self-taught, and growing up in central Pennsylvania, we used a lot of pork products, which, you know, probably part of the reason I don't like pork is it was a pretty much daily thing. But basically we want to mix these two, I'd call them meats, but it's more sausages together. Obviously one is extremely fatty, and the other one not so much. I mean, it's still fatty, but it's not as fatty as the white pudding. I'm just trying to get this very evenly spread throughout here. It would help if it didn't stick to my fingers so much, but you know, that's my lot in life. It's not a lot, but it's my life. All right, so got that going on. Don't worry, I know I have a spice mixture that I need to put in here. So I get to do all this again, but I really wanted the meats to be incorporated together. So go ahead and put our spice mixture in here. And mix it all again. Ugh. All right. Because I'm just getting more and more stuff under my fingers, I'm going to go ahead and stop, mix this together, and then we'll come back and we'll start building the eggs. All right, so we've got this divided into 6 portions here. Take 1 egg and form a sausage ball around it. Now do realize that both the sausages I'm using here are pretty fatty. The suet is pretty much pure fat, and the lamb is fairly fatty as well. So be prepared for it to split when you cook it. So we're going to do this in our egg wash, which is 1 egg with a tablespoon of water, and then our gluten-free panko breadcrumbs that have been seasoned with a tablespoon of the seasoning mix that we put into our sausage mixture. So get that all together, and then that goes onto our prepared baking sheet. And we just keep doing this until we have all 6 of them. So we'll be back in a few minutes. All right, and these are our Worcestershire eggs, and we're going to put these into a 375-degree oven for 45 minutes, turning each one once every 15 minutes. All right, Alexa has told us that we are finished with what we're doing, so we're going to go ahead and open this up and take out our lovely, lovely eggs. And close this back up. All right. Well, this is what we have. We've had 2 here fall apart. This one split open, this one actually fell apart. And that's okay because we're dealing with very fatty sausages. White pudding, the one that I made is pure suet, which is pretty much beef fat. You can render it into tallow, which is something I may do for my Patreons later on at the higher levels of Patreon is do a video on rendering beef tallow rendering suet into beef tallow to make lye soap, because I do that kind of stuff too, because witchery. Anyway, but beef suet is very fatty, and the lamb that I used was also rather fatty, so that this is falling apart is not really a surprise. That this came apart is not a surprise. For those of you who may have been paying close attention and noticed, there is another tray in my oven because I made another 2 so that we could have dinner tonight. These are actually for an SCA event that we're going to tomorrow to make sure that we have enough food on the way there, while we're there, on the way home, whatever, because we're going to go to Ridgecrest, which is about 3 hours northeast of San Pedro, where I live, and we're staying overnight because it's a very long day and I can't do 6 hours on the road with an 8-hour event in the middle of it. So that's everything that's going on. So if you like what you saw here, go ahead and hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. Either way, leave me a comment and let me know what I could do better, what you really liked, all of that stuff. Cameraman, if you hand me a knife, I'll cut one of these open. I'll cut open this one. Because I know somebody had wanted to see what these should look like on the inside. If I can grab a fork. There we go. Yeah, I'll cut this one open. So this one is split, as you can see. So I'm just gonna cut it down the split because that makes more sense. And that's what it looks like on the inside. And falling apart. Awesome stuff there. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and make sure you ring the notification bell so that you know when all of my videos come out. Tuesdays and Thursdays are my normal days, but I do occasionally slip other ones in there. We'll see you next time.